911. Where's your emergency?
This is Alex Murdaugh at 4147 Moselle Road. I need the police to answer immediately. My wife and child are shot badly.
Well, good day, friends. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm Frankie, and welcome to the Think Tank. So, we just finished off with the Alex Murdaugh trial. We did a little bit of a look yesterday at Gloria Satterfield and her case. And today I want to talk a little bit about a young man named Stephen Smith. So, Stephen is allegedly a friend of Buster's. They were in the same grade and they basically went to school together. So let's take a little bit of a look here at Stephen Smith and his case. This needs as much attention as the boat crash, as all of the other cases that have been coming up with this trial. It's amazing. They opened up a camp. So this is Stephen Smith and his mother. And basically this is saying that the internet calls for Buster Murdaugh to be investigated next over the hit and run of Stephen Smith. Well, let's take a look at this because I don't know so much about the hit and run aspect. On Thursday, March 2nd, after Alex Murdaugh was declared guilty of a double homicide, Nietzsche's, I don't know what that is. Nietzsche's called for a homicide investigation against Buster Murdaugh, the surviving son of basically what was once a dynasty. According to Greenville News, Buster Murdaugh had emerged as a suspect back in 2015, and his name came up lots here. So this is why we're going to go after it. So Stephen Smith was found unalived from a blunt force injury to his head. Let me see what this is here. Oh, okay. I'm not too sure. So this here is Stephen Smith, and this is Dave Taft. And I hope Buster Murdaugh has some job skills because his silver spoon and inheritance is gone. Is it, though? That said, the investigation of the unaliving of Stephen Smith has been reopened, and he may join his unalived. Oh, sorry, no, dad in prison. I was thinking of Stephen, who has basically been raised by his mother. But will Buster end up in the hoosegow with his dad? This is something we're going to have to wait and see, right? Well, the unaliving was initially labeled a hit and run by police officers. The Augusta Chronicle noted that residents of Hampton County had claimed that Buster Murdaugh had been romantically involved with Smith and that he had unalived the teen in order to hide a supposedly taboo relationship. So this, I know, is sounding a little bit gossipy, but these are facts that have been floating around this case. Now, am I saying that Buster had a relationship with Stephen? No, but the fact is that they are looking into his case with Buster Murdaugh as one of the suspects. So according to Radar Online, at the time of his death, Stephen Smith was openly gay and was known as an affable, good-humored 19-year-old. Happy lucky. He's had lots of descriptions, and they all actually explain a very smart and humorous fellow. So there's Buffton today. He was considered a promising student, having graduated with straight A's from Wade Hampton High School in 2014. It was about a year before his unaliving happened. So at the time of Stephen's unaliving, he was pursuing a nursing career at Orangeburg Calhoun Tech. They were night classes. So basically, what he was wanting was to pay his own way. He wanted to be a doctor. And knowing that, basically, as the world is right now, his parents couldn't pay for it. His mother, Sandy, said that he was bound and determined to do this on his own. And he wanted to be a doctor, and he wanted to do this without costing the family money. So Stephen Smith's mother, Sandy, said that she believed her son's death was directly linked to his identity as a gay man. She did not name Buster Murdaugh or any other suspects. She claimed that she suspected a boy her son had a relationship. So this is what she said. One of the guys that supposedly did this, Stephen told his twin sister, yes, he was a twin, that he had a fling with the boy. He also told me that he and the boy had a deep sea fishing trip planned for July. Stephen passed away on the 8th of July. It doesn't matter what his preferences were, he was still my son. 100%. That is the last thing a mother is going to be thinking about, other than how it might make their child some kind of target. She also said, I guarantee you that Stephen was not in that road. They took him from his car. Everybody knew his car. He had the ugliest little banana car in town. These boys were coming from a baseball game, and I think they were right behind him. So when he had to pull over, they were right there. The worst part is that some of the individuals responsible were Stephen's classmates. Buster Murdaugh has not commented about the case or his alleged relationship with Smith. Authorities have not officially named Buster a suspect. No, they have not. They are looking at all of the different scenarios, different people. It's not just Stephen, but this is a separate case, and this is one that does need to be investigated. They do have to find out what happened to Stephen Smith. Cops investigating the death of a gay teen killed in a hit and run were convinced it was a homicide and pursued tips questioning the boy's relationship with Air and Powerful, South Carolina family whose mother and brother were unalived. Police investigating the suspicious death probed witnesses over any relationship that he may have had with the Sarah dynasty. Stephen Smith, 19, was found unalived in the middle of a county road 15 miles from the Murdaugh family Islandton Hunting Lodge on July 8, 2015. So now police investigating the shootings of mother and son Maggie, 52, and Paul, 22, have reopened the investigation into Smith's death. So I'm not quite sure what that means. I don't know if are they looking at him as strictly? Smith's death was ruled a hit and run, but his mother, Sandy, has always maintained that her son was gay, was a victim of a hate crime, and the murder covered up. That is basically what a lot of people are thinking. So it says dailymail.com can exclusively reveal that initial investigators found no evidence of a vehicle accident, were convinced that the victim had a shotgun wound above his right eye and received tips questioning whether Smith had a relationship with Paul's older brother, Richard Buster Murdaugh, 26. So right here, this is Stephen with his mother, Sandy, I suppose. So when they say, we'll have to look and see if we come across it here. When they say he was in the middle of the road, he was in the middle of the road. He was on that orange line in the middle of the road. No other injuries other than, I think there was a shoulder. We'll have to double check. The head. So how sad is this picture? There's one surviving. This is Maggie Murdaugh and Paul Murdaugh. So originally the report was written by South Carolina Highway Patrol investigators that were at the scene. And the victim was found, here we go, in the middle of Sandy Run Road, unalived from some sort of blunt force trauma to the head. Responded to the team, and they say they saw no vehicle debris, skid marks, or the injuries consistent with someone being struck by a vehicle. So get this one. This is something that really stands out. The shoes were loosely tied and both of the shoes were still on, which is not something that regularly happens. Usually those shoes are flung. The second incident report, signed by 2 deputies from the Hampton County Sheriff's Office, responded to first reports of a body. It says, I spotted a person laying in the middle of Sandy Run. The person was a white young male with severe head wounds. So it says, after inspecting the body, it appears the victim had been shot, but I do not believe this to be true. So they're going to probably change this somewhere. So it says here, he pointed out the wound to be a gunshot wound and showed me the entry point. Assistant Coroner Kelly Green then began to show me photographs they took, again pointing to the entry to the head, also a defensive wound to the hand. So it states, I asked for clarity if they were unsure it was a homicide, and their response was yes. So this here, I've got all this paperwork, but we'll look at it on here. So this is basically how Paul was found. When I say on the yellow line, pretty much, right? Yellow dotted line. The incident report. So it says, mate also inspected the remains, the body, for evidence of injuries. There was no visible injuries to the deceased other than his head and a small amount of road rash on both arms. He had no broken bones, no injuries whatsoever on his torso or lower body parts. So, which is making this hit and run look a little bit more distant. After further investigation, it was believed that the victim had been shot, and an EMS worker noted as having stated the projectile wound was located on the victim's head, and notes a hole in the skull was located above the victim's right eye. So let's see here. The manner of death was listed as homicide, but undetermined, and it was ruled a hit and run. So then they find out that, let's see, the mate officer who went to the scene and spoke with the coroner, Dr. Washington, took the step of calling the doctor who conducted the autopsy, recorded being told it was not a gunshot wound and no fragment of bullets were found during the x-ray. And her opinion is, since the body was found on the roadway, she could theorize that a motor vehicle had caused the death. Not so much. Contacted Angela Carroll in reference to Stephen Smith's death. Information from Stephanie Smith's state. A boy named Brendan asked if Stephen and brother Murdaugh Murdaugh had ever had any type of relationship. The next one states that they received an email in reference to an anonymous tip that states, okay, Dontero Aiken, along with another black male and white male, Murdaugh, are the ones involved in this unaliving. So the officer did ask the doctor why she was ruling it as a motor vehicle incident, and she told me that it was her job to figure that out. It was not her job to figure that out. It was mine. Oh my goodness, how helpful is that? Mallory Beach. We will be talking about Mallory later. She was the girl that sadly passed away in that boat crash that we hear so much about. And this is Buster's uncles, Randy and John Marvin. This is where Paul and Maggie were unalived. So they are not looking at the people that were involved in that boat crash. They do not believe there is any correlation between that and what has happened here. So there are people saying that they truly believe that Buster was involved. Let me see if there's anything else here for you. Okay. So let me know what you guys think. Stephen was, let me see if I can find anything else that might explain this a little bit better. Stephen was absolutely unalived. We don't know by who. Let's check this one out here, friends. So we do know that the past few months have been, oh, that's Mallory there. Pure chaos for both the Murdaugh'S and followers of the insane true crime story. So there is a program on Netflix and there is another one on Discovery. If you are interested in this case, I would recommend both of them. So we do know that Alec got the death penalty. So we've got Gloria Satterfield that we covered briefly and Stephen Smith that we will be going over. Back in July 2015, the teenager's body was found in the middle of the road in Hampton County, South Carolina, with severe head trauma. One of the troopers on the scene that night of Stephen's death, troopers said in a docuseries that Stephen's demise did not look like it was related to a car accident. And it doesn't. He's got road rash and one deadly wound. They are talking about, and I do believe it's a good angle to look at, that he was either hit with a bat and moved, or he was hit with a bat and thrown out. While the police investigation into Stephen's death, his case eventually went cold, which is why Stephen's mother, Sandy, hired a private investigator to look into what happened to her son. When that PI turned up, was especially chilling what he found on Buster Murdaugh, the oldest son of Alex and Maggie. Buster, and is still alive, was rumored to have something to do with Stephen's unaliving. A big part of the rumors surrounding Stephen's death could come because once the Murdaugh family's name was mentioned in connection with his crime, any investigation into what happened to Stephen just faded away. Private investigator Steve Peterson said in that Netflix docuseries, after Alex Murdaugh was found guilty of unaliving his wife and stepson, Stephen's family released a statement by their lawyer, which included a quote from Sandy. This verdict provides Maggie and Paul's loved ones the answers and closure they need to heal this vicious tragedy. Oh, my word, from this vicious tragedy. And it is exactly that. There has been so much going on, swirling around this family, and the deaths of his wife, Alex's wife and child, is absolutely the catalyst. Some people say the boat crash was the catalyst. I personally think that the catalyst was probably starting with this case here. Stephen Smith. Let's see here. South Carolina Law Enforcement Division has made progress in the active and ongoing case of Smith. The outlet explains that the investigation into Stephen's 2015 unaliving was reopened after Maggie and Paul Murdaugh were found unalived in their Arlington, South Carolina estate. 1,700 square acres, 1,700 acres. Yeah. So I don't know if y'all seen it, but there was a video of Alex being led from the courthouse. And there was someone in that crowd as he came out that was yelling, "Buster is next. Justice for Stephen Smith, Alex." It's important to note that everything regarding Buster and Stephen is pure speculation at this time. Everything we're learning, nothing has been said by a court of law. This is basically family, friends, emergency workers, police, and basically people with suspicions once that name came out. Did they have a relationship? I don't know. Did they have a friendship? I don't know. Would that go over well with the Murdaugh'S having a son that was gay? I don't think that would. So is that motive enough? I'm going to be following this case all the way through, and I am wanting to do a larger documentary size, at least an hour or so, on this case, because it cannot be covered even close to correctly in such a fast half-hour video. We need to get in there and dig a little bit and talk about this. So that is in the future. My next one is going to be on Mallory Beach. And all of these cases, like I said, I do want to cover to a larger extent. So I hope that was enough information for you guys, let you know what's kind of going on as far as Buster and Stephen Smith. Is there anything going on? Let me know down below, friends. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll absolutely see you in the next one. Bye.